Can't believe it. Have to go back to normal League of Legends. I don't get to play anymore. It's back to business, back to bloody game time. But the game that you guys deserve, that scripted game was very, very interesting. I'm sure you all enjoyed it. You know, 1 HP Baron Smite, never seen it before, and you never will again because it's completely ridiculous. But look, down to the wire, we got a couple of boys here. Different ones these times. Look, Jubes and Skimmy, both on the desk with me. You love to see them. And so how you guys going? Where you been? What's going on?
I was better until I watched that show match, if I'm being completely honest.
You should have not watched it.
But actually, I don't know which one was. I don't know which one was better, to be honest, depending on what side of the fence if you're a direwolf fan or not. So, Skim Dog.
Yeah, look, I mean, I watched that, and boy, oh boy, just didn't see too many adaptations in the draft phase. Seemed like they were going for the same picks and just the same outcome, right? I think Peace really woke up and were angered. More than anything by that tiebreaker. You then hit the simmering. You had Jungle Man becoming ADC Man, popping off doing whatever he could to try and carry Mac. And look, mate, I respect it. I saw the Rammus. As soon as I saw that locked in, I knew we were in for a treat, mate. So kudos to you.
Yeah, well, I was just like, I need to go something tanky so I can survive for more than 1 second every time we go into a team fight. And still, I got annihilated every time we went into a team fight. So it is what it is. And look, we move along. I'll go back to Bronze 1 and enjoy my time down there. Now, let's go. All right, couple of memes. Get them up. We got Cool Cat, good Flex Son. He's a good social media manager, this guy. LCO player was McMade's first in that team. We had like 3,000 people watching the show match and only like 2,000 watching the first match of the day. That says something. Maybe it's the time slot, but look, certainly some good memes to come from it. Into the server. Is it just good Flex and making these memes or what?
He's on point, bro. He really is. Every time I see Chiefs post something, I know that he's behind it and he's being creative. But look, hey, every time I saw you making a play, I'd see you either cracking up or like stroking the moustache for good luck, like a wise wizard. So hey, I'm not opposed to this.
Oh, that's my new profile picture. I'm going to steal that one. Thank you, good Flex Son, bloody champion. He's actually jacked as well. You know, give him an extra shout out while we're here. Now, all right, that's enough about me. I don't want to talk about it anymore. I really want to move on with my life. And I want to move on to Order and Chiefs, which is coming up in just a moment. You know, it's going to be a banger series and another best of 5. So it's not just one game wonders this time. We can see if the consistency can go across all the maps, Dupes.
Yeah, and but I feel like it's kind of been the story for both teams in terms of I was asked to give a comment about both teams, and the same sentence I wanted to post for both teams was consistently inconsistent. You know, we've seen very highs from Order and very highs from Chiefs, and we've not really seen a continuous string of performances where they've lived up to their very best.
Yeah, now let's talk Order first, and before we get into it, we've actually had a chat with the players on Order, so let's have a look and see what they had to say.
I'm Nathan, my last name is Puma, so my in-game name is also Puma. I'm on Team Order, and I'm the AD carry.
Engage, and they found it. It's 1-0 so far on court through most of Order. But how big of a difference does that really make? Order are so uncontested right now that even with Baron, Chiefs are completely wiped.
Our team is like a bunch of rookies with a little bit of experience. We all have like our weird ideas and what we want to play and how the game is meant to be played. When all the ideas work, it's really good.
Our strength as a team is like our overall environment. I don't know if you can call it a strength, but like everyone is very on the same page and directed towards getting better. Like we don't let any wins get to our heads or any losses like get to us personally. So we're all very focused on improving and making it to MSI, making it to Worlds.
Unique strengths I think would be champion pool. I think each player can be a carry and be supportive towards the team.
Our team's playstyle, everyone has sort of labelled us as a top jungle carry team, but I don't think that's true. I just think our top jungle are better than everyone else.
We're mainly relying on our knowledge that we have now, but I think eventually we will know how to be self-sufficient. I think we'll probably play both sides eventually.
Pentanet's been the toughest to play against. We went even in the fight, but then it just went downhill after that.
For another one, the ultimate's there for the Hecarim if they can find it right now. That's a two-man Cataclysm Praetor looking at Killer Instinct to try and disengage away. He's going to fall on down. The burn is too strong.
I think a standout moment for me was beating Peace. As a top 2 team, it feels really good to get the win, because it sort of shows that you can contend with the top teams. And I think that everyone on the team played really well, but I especially had like a really good game. So that was a big confidence boost for me.
So one thing I want to achieve is probably just being the best mid laner.
I think MVP is like my ultimate goal for the end of the year, but if I can't make that, then at least being the best top laner. I think right now BioPanther is better than me. He's got so much more experience. I'd say mechanically I'm better, but in terms of his experience, he just knows a lot more about the game.
The main goal is to go to Worlds or MSI and do really well, because I think the team that does well at one of these events will probably be considered the best team that has ever played. My own personal goal is I want to be the best AD carry in Oceanic history.
You've probably done enough. And Puma gets a 1v1 against Kisei.
Right now we are not that good, but we are also not that bad. I think give us the end of the split to really ramp up.
There you have it. Order with a little bit of a chin wag on how they're going, how they like things, and damn, they got some spunk, don't they? Looking at them, you just love to see them every single time. Now, let's have a quick talk about this team, and get my eyes off them, Skimmy. You need to talk because I just can't get my words about these men.
It's week on week, right? It's this Stutter City right now. You know, you're just looking at this roster and you think, hang on a minute, is this a Calvin Klein photo shoot, or is this a roster that plays League of Legends coming out of Melbourne? They just do it all, quite honestly, right? In terms of the atmosphere, you can see that from their gameplay. They always look to be on the same page, and whilst they're not necessarily a team that you look to for early game aggression, there's no denying their late game team fighting. You know, how many times have we seen them be in a situation where they've stolen away an important objective, they've come in and just cleanly executed a team fight to swing the balance of a game. You look at a lot of these plays and you start to think, okay, your form coming into this one, you've taken out Peace, you did it on Vayne as well, and you're really showcasing that, hey, we've got mechanics, we've got players that can pop off and do what they need to in the heat of the moment. And it's hard to say that this, I want to say it's Order favored in this matchup, but it's a degree of chaos in the Chiefs camp, which we'll touch on in a second.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at the way that Peace dispatched Direwolves, and then you look at, you know, the Order Peace game. And then you start to draw comparisons between, okay, well, how good is Order in terms of ramping up? How good are they? And I guess we'll find out today.
Good question. Now, another question we need to ask is how good are the Chiefs? Because head-to-head, these teams have been doing, you know, a little bit of work both ways. Initially, Chiefs starting the groups with a very strong beginning, but, you know, towards the end, it got a little bit rough, and then, you know, maybe some shines of brilliance right at the end, but even so, you know, does it leave something to wonder about?
Well, on paper, this is one of the best teams in the league in terms of individual talent, in terms of names, in terms of, you know, things they've been able to achieve. So the fact that they've started and had a few missteps, you know, later towards the end of the split means that, you know, maybe it's a blessing in disguise, right? You know, playoffs is a different ballgame. We've said that a bunch of times, and potentially it's you know, it's the losses you take during the season that then lead you to not take those when it really matters, right? So maybe Chiefs has learnt enough from their little hiccups mid-split to really take over come playoff time. So excited to see, you know, whether the young mechanics crew or the young mechanics kids are able to transition into what is the, you know, what we're looking to see, which is that 5v5 really well coordinated unit that we want, you know, that we expect to see from the Chiefs.
Yeah. I mean, they to me, have such, I mean, they have similarities first and foremost, right? They definitely have similarities between the two of them, but there are so many different aspects between them outside of that, right? You know, we look at how Swaif is that carry jungler, we look at how Mboma gets left to his own devices time and time again, Draku consistently roaming, looking to act as that second jungler. And I think you can boil that down to the fact that Swaif and Draku are the big shot callers. They are the big voices on the team, so they're looking to always get something done. They're not patient to sit around a lane for 15 minutes waiting for you to sort of casually farm into the match. So I find it really interesting when these two teams do go toe-to-toe, because they are obviously 4th and 5th in the league, but they have these very opposite styles with a sprinkling of similarity. So in a best-of-5 scenario, anything can happen.
Certainly can. Now, we do have Nat down on the side lanes with some players to have a bit of a chin wag too. Hopefully they can live up to my beautiful interview earlier. Nat, who do you have down there?
I've roped in Mboma and Maximize. You both were two people that I interviewed on the first day of the LCO split, and here you guys are playing off in the lower brackets You know, how's the team feeling? First of all, it being a best of 5, and then second of all, being in the lower bracket. Maximize, if you want to start.
I think we feel really confident heading into today. I think everyone here is pretty confident that we're going to win the series quite convincingly. So yeah, there's honestly not that many nerves. Obviously there's nerves because this is everyone's first best of 5. Like we're all a team that hasn't had much experience in the best of 5s, but we're against Chiefs who haven't been looking too hot, so we're confident in that regard.
And Burma, what about the Chiefs? How are you guys?
We're feeling really good going into this series. I think our practice has been pretty good recently, and I think we match up pretty well into order, even in our past couple games. So I'd say we're not really that nervous. We're more excited to play in a best of 5 and show what we can do when, you know, I actually think best of 5s are less pressure. So I think that we'll be able to play our normal style, I think.
Hopefully the nerves definitely aren't there for you guys. Maximize, I did hear that most of the Order team, you guys are playing from the headquarters. Do you think it's going to help you like in between games and with team communications?
I mean, yeah, it's been great. We have 4 people down here from the team, and I think it's just like everyone is a lot like closer, and no one is like gonna flame or no one's gonna tilt because we're all here to like pick someone up if they're having a bad game or something like that. So I think that like being all in person is really gonna help the chemistry.
How evenly matched do you guys think you are with Chiefs, and what sort of weaknesses are you able to capitalize on from the past games you've played against them?
Well, I think one of the Chiefs' weaknesses is that they can't beat any teams that are better than them. They've only beaten us once, and they haven't taken a game off any of the teams above them in the standings. So, given that we're better than the Chiefs, I think that's a big weakness that we'll exploit.
And Burma, is there an advantage or something that you guys think that you have over Order coming into this best of 5?
Well, I think if we're using that logic, we're pretty comfortable matching up into Order, to be honest. I think that even when we played them last time, we got a bit of a lead. We just didn't close the game out that cleanly. So I think that we're pretty confident coming in. I'm not too worried.
The last question I will ask is match predictions. How many games do you guys think this is going to go to, and what do you think is going to be the final scoreline in Boma?
I think it'll probably be 3, maybe 4 games in our favor.
Okay. And Maximize?
It's going to be a 3-0. Yeah.
I love the confidence. You have never faltered in that confidence, but I wish you both the best of luck. And I'll see you on the other end of the best of 5.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't know which way this one's gonna go. It's crazy. How what?
You just see him staring you in the camera and saying, "It's a 3-0 now." Listen, it's a 3-0. Done.
I
Cut the
know.
cam. Done.
There was nothing else. He's like 3-0.
Well,
That's it. That's all she wrote.
Maybe we won't be here for 5 maps. I don't know. I guess we'll see. Look, I've got to stop calling them maps. I know everyone out there, all you League fans, you're probably tilted, but it's inbuilt in me. It's how best of whatever works in other games that I may or may not cast. So games for the series. I'm getting there, all right? And now the question is, I'll ask the guys on the desk and the girls, what do we think this is going to be? You know, we're about to do predictions, but do we see it as a 3-0? Do we see it as a 3-2? I personally hope it's a 3-2, so we get a very strong best-of-5 series. Tubes will go all the way along.
I don't think it's a 3-0. It's very hard to 3-0 in best of 5s. I think what we saw today was a little bit of an exception. You always just drop a game because the other team, when they lose, make tweaks to pick bans and they do different things, you know, level 1, whatever it is, different strategies. So it's definitely easier to drop a game in a best of 5. But you can close them out quite convincingly in like a 3-1. So I'm expecting maybe a 3-1 either way.
Okay, Skimmy, how about you? Also, we'll bring up the predictions so there's a bit more transparency here while we're quickly chatting.
Yeah, so I said before that I think that Order may have a slight edge, but I think for me, if Chiefs can hit the ground running, which they've shown in the first 15 minutes, they can get these huge leads. If they can actually turn that into something more, then I think it could be Chiefs favored. You know, we see time and time again, there's these different ideas of, you know, are you an early game team or a mid game team? If you lose the early game, it's very hard to recover. It is very much a go next angle. But I think I'm going to go for 3-2 here. I think it's evenly matched. It really is going to come down to finding the advantage in draft, but then being able to execute on it and build from that. So I think it's not going to be a clear-cut Freo by any means.
What about you, Nat?
I think it's probably going to be a 3-1, same with Jubes, only because I do think these two teams are probably more evenly matched than the last best of 5 we had. And I think there's a lot more potential for that, like, quote-unquote, scrappy win to come through. You know, it's just like a lot of back and forth, a lot of aggression, potentially early game. That, yeah, you know, there might be just a point where our team gets one game in, but I think overall it's definitely pretty close. And I think Order, if they can manage their energy levels, are going to be the winner. I think that they're stronger, and I think they are a lot quicker to adapt. I don't think Chiefs have it in them to adapt quick enough between games, maybe between like series that we have in the past, but not with only 10 minutes sort of thing between each game.
Yeah, well, I guess we'll see. And look, Order have created a nice little content piece, which myself and Nat probably going to like a little bit more, predicting Order here. So let's see what they prepared for us.
Look, I think we're going to 3-0 Chiefs, if not 3-1.
I think so as well, actually. Yeah,
And then whoever loses from Peace and Firewalls will probably be a banger game. But if we win that, then we're going to beat Pentanet. And then we're going to go to MSI.
I mean, Order, all credit to them. It's something about the organization. It's something about the staff maybe that they have on the back end. But when the playoffs word flies around, they just step up another level. And it's not even like one person in particular. It's every single playoffs. Order's been a force to be reckoned with. So whatever they're doing there, it's right. It's the right cup of tea.
Maybe the memes don't die when the rosters do change. That, you know, you're looking at this late game playoffs performance that seems to come about here for Order. Maybe this is the beginning of that tune once again.
What a way to say we're here and we're ready for playoffs.
Yeah, that was certainly something.
It's just too strong. Beats with the 3-man knockout. Can he salvage this fight? And the Lord, a lane waits. Out comes the Requiem. Boom! And 2 people pop.
How big of a difference does that really make? Order are so uncontested right now that even with Baron, Chiefs are completely wiped.
Just going to go down extremely quickly. Yep, the Kaiser to top that off. And it's very early, but look how quick it's going down. Can Vengeance steal it? He does. He does.
That's huge. Vengeance may be able to turn this around. All the damage is coming through from Chungy.
That has to be the biggest brain play from the Order bot lane in the world.
This is looking like it's a story that still has a few chapters yet to be written.
I like that. How do you, I don't know, Jubes, I feel like this is a question for you. How do you get into the server and get those cool cinematics? Do you just have to like get a replay and then you've got full control of all the camera options, or have you never done that?
That's definitely your first problem, is that you asked me about something creative.
You're the lead guy on the desk here.
But you think when we're VOD reviewing games, we're doing cool cinematics like, hey, bro, next time don't die to that gank on that ward, but let's zoom in and do a 360 because it looks cool, man. Less tilted, bro.
Yeah. If you could watch it from, like, you know, a different angle, you know, you get a different perspective on the situation. That's what Rusty means when he's talking about it, right? He's like, we need to have a look at this from a different perspective. Like,
There's programs out there, Mac. There's people that are super talented, like Steven Spielberg 2.0s out there doing whatever they can to try and get themselves noticed with these montages. Old mate Juves will go into solo queue, hit a few people around, show that his fingers are still intact. They ain't all washed up, that the Sin logo is there on Flare. Big strong arms in the chat for him. And then obviously then send it off to somebody that makes him look like a montage monster.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it is time. Second series of the day. Order and Chiefs. Who's going to come out on top? Find out right now.
Oh, we certainly will. Here we go for the second best of 5 of the day. There is the lower bracket, Juves. There are no lifelines, no second chances, as will be the Chiefs doing battle with Order.
Yeah, but back in my day, there was no second chances anyway, so it's funny because there's no second chances, but you feel very safe in a best of 5. Because you can drop, like going into the first game, you obviously want a 3-0, okay? You don't want to lose, but you can, there's always that like safety net of we can lose one.
Yeah.
And that's something that both of these teams aren't used to all year. Now, the thing I want to highlight just quickly is Vayne's been banned away, targeted at Puma, but more importantly, Seraphine's been picked up, and that's huge for Chiefs.
Yeah, certainly is huge. I mean, we've seen in terms of what's been picked and prioritized that whilst both support players have tended to go for the engage, there has been that slight preference to go more for the enchanters now, creeping back in, as Draku's shown us in the past. The Seraphine first pick is never going to go uncontested. It's interesting, because this is really, I suppose, where I want to turn the conversation, right? What would you be targeting in this game? You look at the Chiefs, they've then said, look, we identified that Puma's really strong, nullify his impact, make sure that Mboma can hold his own. As for Alder, seems a little bit clear-cut, target the jungle, but then more than anything, make sure that Kisei can't pop off on these frustrating AD picks.
I think the meta's in a spot now where there's too much stuff that's really valuable to warrant target bans. So in this instance, right, you target ban or you take away Hecarim, take away Yone, and then you ban Nocturne. And Nocturne's a target ban towards Kisei, but then what do they get in exchange? And they get Seraphine, that's arguably like one of the best champs in the game. So it's like when you target ban, you run the risk of giving something S tier away, and that's what we've seen just happen here. But they've traded with Udyr and Jinx, and Jinx respectively is definitely a very strong champion. Needs a little bit of peel, needs a little bit of utility that should come on through in the draft. However, that's not it. The Alistar isn't it, but we can still see that come in the top lane, in the mid lane. We've definitely seen the likes of Karma come on through from Chungi. The things like the Galio as well. Galio can be used defensively, but it's not the first thought, right? The first thought is you want to pair it with something that dives backline.
Yeah.
But I like
Chungi's
what
shown that he can do a fair bit, right? Like, he is very present in the fact that he will play tank, utility, carry. He'll slot himself in real nicely and say, all right, what do we need in, full 5th pick to round out this composition.
But with how Chungi's been playing, I don't really want to put him on utility. I mean, he's been sleeper OP for Order in the last couple of weeks. On the Syndra, on a few other things in multiple games, he's had some very big impacts, very big performances. So I'd like to see him on something with a little bit of lane priority, a little bit of early game prowess, maybe a little bit of early game dominance. Yeah. So then he can kind of help Vengeance get through sometimes that little mid-game bridge or early game bridge where he likes to get those double scuttle crabs and things like that. So the thing I wanted to touch on though, Skimmy, is that Swade's opted in for the Skarner. This possibly might be his first time.
It is his first time. He's only been playing the carries, right? So it's a big switch up coming into this playoff.
And in playoffs, that's when you shift your identity, which is a big call, right? Most players opt in for comfort come their first game in playoffs. It's not really a time where you want to try things, see what works, see what doesn't work. Now, in saying that, Skarner is pretty easy to play, right? The champ does play itself in a sense, so you do have that going for you. But now they have the double flex, Skimmy, right? Lucian can go mid, can go AD, can even go top lane in certain matchups, and they have the Seraphine, which can go sup, mid, top. Top, very uncommon, very, very uncommon, but nevertheless can do it if need be.
Certainly can, and we've seen that they have had situations before they've opened up drafts like this to try and cause as many headaches to their opposition. Quick note on those second bans, the Camille targeting Maximize, Liv has played a whole bunch of it too, and Mboma still tainted by the show matchup before, Mboma receiving his pocket big ban on towards that high Medina as well, so taking no chances with, you wouldn't call it cheese as such, but just comfort, which I suppose goes back to our original point there of this big identity shift, because if I look at Swathe, carry jungler, so much damage in those initial moments, the highest jungler actually in the entire LCO, I would be thinking strong mid jungle 2v2, guarantee first Herald, Drake, so on 15 minutes you're laughing. But from what we're seeing here from Order, they're finding themselves some pretty strong picks to go and battle with that, I suppose.
So the Gragas is being picked up too. So what it's looking like is the Ornn goes top lane, Lucian bot lane, Gragas mid, is it? Oh no, it might actually be the Seraphine ADC. So Mboma will play the Seraphine, Draku will be playing the Gragas, and then it becomes a solo lane Lucian with a top lane Ornn. That's probably what we're going to see here. Can do that. Annie.
Okay. That's a
curveball for me.
We've got curveballs all throughout this one, right? First of all, Chief Swathe changing his identity, going from the hard carry junglers into the fact that, no, I'll play Skarner, I'll go utility, I'll grab it in and allow you guys to find those picks instead. And for Chungi to throw us that curveball at the end with an Annie. The first time we've seen it here in the LCO, but not a pick I see too commonly.
I mean, the point and click CC type deal, I guess it makes sense into the Lucian. Be interesting to see if Kisei opts in for the cleanse, because I do think sometimes we get a little bit of a delay on the summoner spells. So, I don't know if he's necessarily opting in for the ignite in this lane, particularly because, any flash stuns you and Udyr just follows up like you're as good as dead. So this 2v2 between Udyr and Annie is quite volatile, quite scary. I'm not too seasoned on Annie mid and its particular matchups, if I'm being completely honest. Might need to get a special guest LS in here to talk about the Annie, since he is kind of a really big Annie advocate. Now, the Seraphine ADC, I think this again might be the first time we've seen it in the LCO, in the ADC quote-unquote position, where the Seraphine like eats farm bot lane, has a traditional support. This does allow Dragku the option to roam, because Seraphine is quite safe under tower. Can also just, you know, leave tower if need be. It's not necessarily a champion that needs 10 CS per minute or is going to stay, you know, even or win most matchups. It's just the scaling that really gets you over the line.
But it's fitting, right, isn't it? It really is fitting for the Chiefs' narrative, given that we do see Dragku roam so often, and Mbome is... I mean, how many times have we seen him? Israel, Heimerdinger, champions like this that, you know, 1v2, if I am left to the wolves, that I'm not going to falter.
It's a pretty low damage composition though, right? Like if Kisei falls down in the mid game or early game or late game rather, like their damage does fall off a cliff, because you're going to have a beefy frontline Alistar, Udyr, Na in the mega form. So Chiefs really need to navigate this early game quite well, because they don't want a Lucian to be playing from behind. Yes, Seraphine's OP, yes, the scaling's OP, and a lot of the time you can stay in the fight for so long that your bruisers do damage. However, your tanks do damage. You don't want to run that risk.
Well, we'll see if the situation presents those forms of risks as we jump into the very first game of this best of 5. It is the lower bracket. Chiefs taking on Order. And as we get ourselves ramped up in here for game 1, we do have the coach of Order in Calvin on standby to join us.
Hello, Summoners.
Hey, how are you today?
I'm good.
How are you feeling about this one? First of all, obviously, you know, best of 5 situation. We had a quick nosy over some of the players. You're coming into this one, all these players, no best of 5 experience behind them. Does that play a major factor, or do you think that whole narrative angle is a bit overplayed?
Yeah, I mean, like, definitely no best of 5 experience from all the players, but I think everyone's coming into this series, you know, we're not really like very tense. We're not like, oh guys, we have to win this, you know, we're playing 120%, then like, you know, we'll burn out by the end of the series. Like, we've had a lot of talks around this, you know, how to handle the pressure, how to handle the extended gameplay on the stage with this, like with all the you know, when every game matters. And yeah, I mean, everyone's pretty chill right now. The environment's pretty good, and yeah, I mean, we're just gonna play this game out.
Yeah, and talk to me a bit about that environment, right? The fact is, I'm seeing a number of players on the player cams right now in that Order facility. What has that been like? You know, in a situation we are globally, the ability to group up and play as if we were at LAN, that must feel good.
Yeah, that's definitely a luxury, because I wish I'm there, because I'm currently in Hong Kong, and yeah, I really wanted to be with the teammates. However, you know, they're definitely enjoying the headquarters over in Melbourne. And I think we'll have a good showing because of that.
Well, I'm excited to see what it does mean, because obviously we can keep tabs on him as the game goes on. Finally, talk to me a little bit about this Annie. Caught us all off guard. We saw obviously the flip up here from Chiefs, but then we saw the Annie coming in as you know, R5 and 4. Hang on a minute, Order have got something spicy.
Right. So this whole draft was pretty much like all planned, and it was going like exactly how it wanted to be. The only unexpected thing was actually Swathe on this Skarner. Their comp overall like virtually has like very low range and very low damage. Their only damage champion is going to be that Lucian. We're expecting the Seraphine lane, because we deliberately gave Seraphine to them, and therefore we also expected the Lucian mid lane as soon as they banned the Tristana. So we had this Annie prepared. We had a massive frontline in the Alistar, in the Udyr, in the Na. Like, there is no way like this team can actually do DPS into like a triple frontline like this.
So I suppose you're basically telling us you just hit them with the 4D chess complex of checkmate already coming out the gates here for this best of 5. Thank you so much, Calvin. Appreciate your time as always, and we'll talk soon.
Talk soon.
Right, Juves. Well, there you go. That's the insight. As you can see, you know, he talks a little bit about what you were mentioning. You know, the fact that they have a very low range composition, but more than anything, a low damage composition if Kisei falls.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we touched on in Champions Select, right? And the matchup I've just been watching, it makes sense. For Lucian to do damage, Lucian has to get close to Annie. And like, the one way that you beat Annie is keeping distance, because you're going to get like all of her abilities dropped on your head, and potentially the Tippers comes down at level 6 as well. So Lucian as a champion obviously wants to dash in, get in close, especially into control mages that can't really trade back in the early game. And then through doing so, he generates his own lead, generates a lead into the mid game, and then hits the side lane. However, when you do that, or like when you play against an Annie, you run the risk of just getting blown up. So, and then, you know, Annie also has the I'm not actually sure of the ability name. It's the E, where you get that ring around you, and you have a lot of like durability in that sense, some move speed as well. So Lucian just needs to play very safe. Again, maybe I should have brushed up on my Annie before the series started, but I'll be completely honest with you, I wasn't expecting it.
I don't think anybody was expecting it, quite honestly. The Molten Shield, as you reference, plenty of mobility and nuisance creation, as it allows you to get in their face and hit them with a stun and overlap that CC like you would not believe. And it's worth noting, Jubes, as we get ourselves into this one, to set the scene for what this best of 5 could entail. Both these teams, first and second, in terms of getting first blood percentages. I think for the Chiefs, it was 71% of the time they're the ones to pull the trigger first and, you know, get in their opposition's face. But then the biggest deviation between the two of them is first Herald rate. Chiefs, 78% of the time go for the Herald. Order, only 42%. But forget that one, because that's a distant afterthought. We're looking at level 1 ganks right here. 5 minutes in, it's going to be Swave that pokes his head into bot side. They look to try and take out Beats. He has no flash. And that's going to be first blood for the Chiefs.
That's huge, because this is the lane for Order that should win, right? Like, you're playing Seraphine, you're kind of just happy to gracefully lose and then just scale up to a point where you're just going to take over mid-game, take over team fights. All of a sudden now, Beats has no flash, and what was looking like a very decent lane is going to be a lane where they have to come back and play a lot more respectfully. And to top that off, the first dragon has gone over to Chiefs, so, you know, potentially even the option to start stacking dragons this early on and play for a soul, so got to be very happy if you're a Chiefs fan this early on, especially with a composition that does scale so well. I mean, we didn't even touch on the fact that the ornaments are going to come through for Seraphine, for the Lucian. And yes, there is a lot to deny Swathe on this Skarner, but I hold that thought, because watch the Hex Flash.
Looking for the Hex Flash, looking for the Pulse combo. There's Tippers, says hello. It's a CC combos like you would not believe between all 3 members. I don't think a cleanse, let alone a flash, is enough to survive that.
I mean, look at the wave the Lucian's losing. You know, we talk about value for money, and that was definitely value. Yeah, First Blood went over to the side of Chiefs, but, you know, I value the Lucian being put behind, the Lucian being put at a deficit, much more than I rather, you know, the kill onto the Skarner. So just really good roam from Beats. Really, really good use of the Hex Flash. We don't see that too often. And we're just seeing the Annie into Lucian matchup, right? Even in CS, picks up a kill now, has the tier 2 boots. It's only going to get harder for Kisei here, particularly because he has no cleanse now.
It's just going to be so tough for him to actually play aggressively in this lane. Hang on for a second, though, because whilst we're talking about that one, we then turn to bot side of the map, and it is actually Puma that takes that kill onto Embowment. Squishy Seraphine, another big wave crashing. Really good start here for Order.
That was a teleport as well. Not sure where he TP'd from. Potentially could have been a minion. Potentially could have been a ward that just died in lane. If you look at the ward of Chiefs there, Jinx should be okay. Shouldn't have to burn flash, but maybe. Is there an ignite? No ignite. Okay. We're all good. False alarm.
Playing with danger, though. Certainly are playing with danger. And it's interesting to me because, you know, we talk about what these 2 different teams can do. Once again, it's another Hex Flash. And this is what they can do when they have the CC like this. They can just literally, you know, lock you underneath turret. Then it's a TP on that minion, so a hold to the wave there. Hold to the minion more than anything. And with the combo ready, it's easy pickings.
Now, the best part about that was Jinx got the kill too. So all of a sudden, you know, 20 CS lead, 1 kill as well. And Order are just in a really good position with a composition that could really just run over the mid-game, right? They lost the Dragon, which kind of hurt because, you know, they want to be stacking up early, particularly because they have a prio bot lane. They have the mid lane with an abundance of CC, and to be quite honest, some very good base damages this early into the game. But I think from here on out, Order are going to be sniffing out all of these dragons.
Certainly agree, because they've shown that they've got that early game aggression now on point to go toe-to-toe and match Chiefs as to what they're looking to try and achieve. And, you know, we talk about Chiefs, you know, finding these really strong advantages in the first 15 minutes, but it's worth noting that, as you say, this is the first time that Ornn will be played by Liv. So giving themselves that kind of mid to late game insurance policy. Date your mind back to the last time these 2 teams met in week number 4. It was all in Chiefs' control. They go for the Baron. Order just smurf. Every single member knew exactly what they needed to do, steal the Baron, end the game.
I think that's the one thing Order are doing very well at the moment. Particularly, we didn't really, at the start of the split, I wouldn't have said that they're a big team fight team. I would have said, you know, maximize on the side lane and Liv TP's bot.
He's looking bot, looking to try and make his impact right now, cycling through that spell, but the max range on the ultimate there ensures that he gets locked in place just long enough to guarantee that this TP finds its warranted value. Now both brawlers punching on. Maximize topped up and healthy, and Liv receives all the heals in the world. Hellfire is Seraphine. And topside, there is another kill. The observers can't keep up with this one. Herald was the bait, and Herald was the answer as this grants Kisei a huge invitation back into the game.
Disaster across the board. I mean, it's kind of the classic, make a play one side of the map or get a pick one side of the map and then someone doing something on the other side too. So, but in this situation, it's the Chiefs winning on both sides, right? Historically, it's, you know, one side wins, the other side loses. And when you're winning on both sides, so here's the replay, Dragcurie with the engage, level 6 advantage. And just a 2v3, right? And he's not even there to participate. Of course you're going to lose the 2v3, and Chang'e was just in mid lane, had to eat a wave, and this is the one thing the Lucian does for you, is it generates a lot of priority. And although this Annie pick is the quote-unquote counter pick, or at least something that's meant to match the Lucian, you take stock of the scoreboard now and you see a bounty, you know, a 2-1-0 Merc Treads Lucian, and you start to say, okay, we haven't really kept him down. Now it's just, what does Annie look like post-laning phase, right? Yep. How does Annie function in the side lane? Are they able to get Annie out of the side lane into the team fights? Because if Annie's just sitting bot side of the map and Lucian's pushing waves in and roaming to place first, that's just worst case scenario for them. However, this is the one thing that they can do to bring the 5v5 team fight. Let's see if Chiefs will contest.
Looking for it, Chiefs. They want nothing to do with it right now. First Dragon, or second Dragon I should say, goes across to Order as Chiefs had invested in getting that Herald. They will summon it mid so perfectly to take down the first tier 1, and that protection that it aids for Chang'e could be crucial in the context of this volatile mid matchup. Yeah, and now you have no turret to fall back to, right? So you can't even really play this matchup the way you would like, especially too because in long lanes, Lucian just chases you down and kills you. So, you know, think about the culling. Usually that mid turret there is going to keep you alive. It's going to stop Kisei from walking you down with the culling, but now he's just got a whole lane. He's pretty much got a 100-meter track to run you down on and throw the culling down. So, it's going to be dangerous territory for Chang'e. Quite interesting how his game's played out so far. You know, I saw the Annie coming at the end. I thought, okay, well, you know, between the Annie and the Udyr, the mid-jungle duo, tons of damage and lockdown, and CC between the 2 point-and-click stuns. I thought that would give them a big advantage into the curveball that Swaith has thrown us with this Skarner. But we've yet to really truly see that 2v2. Maybe that 2v3 before that resulted in the Herald. Yeah, sure, numbers advantage in Chiefs' favor, but it showed that that was all it really took for this Lucian to get himself back into the game. And he's got that Kraken Slayer. A ton of damage now on the board. You can quite understand, I'm sure, as to why they were hesitant to go for that Dragon, because, look, we just want those power spikes, and from there, you know, the sky's the limit. I thought we may even see him go full defensive with the Gale Force, just to get that little bit of extra mobility, maybe kite out the Tibbers, kite out the Udyr, just that little bit of distance. But then you look at the composition, right? The Gragas, the Seraphine, the Ornn. I mean, if you need any more distance than that, or tools to buy you distance, then maybe you shouldn't be playing Lucian. So definitely agree with the item purchase there. Yeah. And Invoma's done a very good job at, or the Chiefs in general have done a very good job of stabilizing this bot lane. Yeah, from the Chaos in level 1, right? Yeah. Or from the very get-go, where Invoma's getting taken out of the situation, you think, you know, this is what they tend to do, you know, put Invoma on these safe champions so he can be left to his own device, so that Dragu can try and be the initiator, rather than let Beats continue to find Hex Flash angles to punish and promote ideas on their own for Colts. Worth noting that Chiefs now starting to get themselves a little bit more ramped up and grouped up. Lived is parving towards the bottom half of the map, but hesitating for just a second to catch that wave topside. So Chiefs looking to try and gain some control of this river and looking to make sure that they're the ones that retain this gold lead. Yeah, and controlling the bot side river is just purely so Kisei can sit in that bot lane and just push and farm. And they're just going to park Mboma in the mid lane, let Mboma pick up the waves whenever they come in, because again, it's not necessarily a lane that freezes well, right, in the mid lane. It's usually just a table tennis match, a ping pong match of, yeah, take this wave, we'll take the next one. Yeah. And of course, like if you can just trade farm on your Seraphine quite safely with vision on one side of the map, you're going to take that every single day of the week. And, you know, no team is kind of on the timer to start something, because it really just does come down to execution, right? You know, you've got so many tools on the side of Chiefs to deny Jinx any entry into the team fight, right? You think of the Ornn Horn, the Gragas ultimate, like every time Puma's flash is down, he's just a sitting duck.
But then you look on the same side of Order, and you start to see, okay, the Flash Tibbers angle, followed up by the Alistair combo, the Mega Gnar. There's just so many bits of CC on both compositions, and only 1 or 2 key members. And that's why these team fights are so interesting, because if Kisei falls down, well, it's surely a team fight win for Order. And vice versa, if Puma falls down, well, surely Chiefs win the fight. So we honestly just need to keep tabs on those 2 carries.
And it's going to be interesting to note the itemization that goes around, right? You know, Mikhail's Crucible could be huge in the context of this game to ensuring that, you know, cleanse is there. Here, have this as that second insurance policy and guarantee that you have that survivability, that you have the faith in the rest of us to do our job to buy you that space to work around with and pop off for maximum damage out. But 15 minutes, it's come across, and it is still the Chiefs that take this lead. Up by 1,600 gold in their comfort spot, you'd have to say. But this is now where we start to reach the business end of things. We've seen it happen before. Chiefs get off to a fantastic start, but it's the mid-game that we scrutinized.
It is, and like we talked about this even before the game, or maybe it was touched on in an interview, but it was that the last time, it was in Boma actually, and Swathe might be caught. And he's okay, he's just flashed that one out, and that's actually a very big cooldown burn, right? Like, that's half of Skarner's kit. You pick him for the Impale, and then you pick him for the Flash, and nothing in between. So one of those key kits or key parts of his kit is down. So come this next Dragon fight, or potentially Rift Herald fight, depending on what they opt in for fighting, there's no access to the backline. There's no access or easy access to Puma or Chungy.
Yeah, he's going to be basically very reliant now on the likes of Blast Cones or Vision Denial to try and find those engagement angles. It's still the Chiefs, though, that lead the line. There's a Flash Body Slam, 2-man knockup, explosive cards. It is explosive, because that's already Puma at the fight. A backline attempt here by Sway, but he'll fall on down. A flanking Skarner without a flash. That is not a scary prospect.
Yeah. But again, it's Swathe dead for Puma, but they're still fighting.
They still are fighting. It is an extended front to back. The Carling finding a ton of value right now as Liv goes gold and Stopwatch finding its value. Buying just enough time. The Dragon is up. The Herald is there to take as well. When both teams hungry for blood to gain that killing edge.
Chungy has no mana, Skimmy. I don't know how they're going to fight this one, and Vengeance is just a little bit too low. Like we said, if they have no Puma, they have no damage. Beats goes in.
Yeah, he's gone in for a 2-man knockup, but he realizes this is not a fight that we want to take. Dracu's still on the run, looking to try and 1v2, lock them in place for as long as possible. The cask to guarantee to slow the beat drop from across the terrain, and quite honestly, they don't need to chase those kills. They just need to bully them away, get their numbers advantage once again, and look to claim this Dragon. But Order Jubes, Order still wants something. Members of Respawn, Puma's back. There's a flash from Maximize looking for the big Gnar ult. He's just been CC'd into oblivion and comes out when he's 10%. Triumph proc isn't enough. He'll fall on down. But it's a shutdown. It's for those 2 carries you wanted to see. Kisei gets the kill. Puma gets the kill. But the third Dragon is still there.
It's a 1-for-1, but that could have been so much worse for the side of Chiefs. You know, we have to keep our eyes on Dracu in that particular fight. Denies maximize the Mega Gnar into the wall there through the body slam. And Dracu's having a blinder. Sets up the pick onto Jinx, but I'm going to cut myself off here.
Swathe, you can't steal it. The smite does not connect. Very passive was their approach to try and get themselves into that Dragon pit. And ultimately, Order are able to secure it.
This game feels so tense, right? They just feel very evenly matched, and they're both trying to do the same thing. And it's just a backwards and forwards of who's going to execute better, who's going to play team fights better. And we see here, right? It looks like a bit of a disaster for the Chiefs. You think, okay, this is it. Maximize going to wallop, but Dracu completely denies that, and Maximize just in no man's land enables the 1v1 and probably saves the day, because Jinx gets excited, and it could be a lot worse for the side of Chiefs there. So well played by the Gragas, having a very good game, and you know it just feels like it has the time to explode. There just needs to be that little reset or that CC onto Jinx, and at the moment it's just beefy front lines. It's just extended fights. No one's going down.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of the prospect of what we saw when Dracu came into the fold of things for the Chiefs last year, right? The end of last year on the likes of Set, one of those massive moments to set his team up for success. And you called it already. Take out Puma, and what does the fight look like? And quite honestly, it was a fight or skirmish more than anything, really, that Chiefs are winning. Health advantages, number advantages, but just the fact the fight went on so damn long ensured that Order could come back and find retribution. So it'll be interesting to note what it means in the grand scheme of things now, because both those key AD carries, Kisei as well as Puma, still have their flash.
Yeah, and that's huge, right? Like every time that Jinx has flash, being able to participate in these team fights is going to be massive. The one thing I just want to take stock of, not necessarily a huge deal, but has the potential to absolutely blow out, is the CS discrepancies in the top lane, in the top and 80 carry position for Order. Now, we expected Jinx to run away with a little bit of a lead. However, it is quite substantial now. And we look at Nah, same thing. Only thing keeping him lived in the game is his still participation, right? Has 2 kills to his name. However, that could be a 30 CS deficit. What if it goes to another 30 and then all of a sudden we're talking about this maximize in the side lane? But also keep your eyes on Kisei now. Kisei has the CS lead, has the gold lead. So it's just nice, or it's interesting to see where the advantages lie for both teams. And it's exactly what we said. Kisei falls down. That's 3k or a 2 to 3k lead that is non-existent in the game. And generally like the anchor or the pivot point of Chiefs' composition.
Yeah, I mean, they're already such fine margins. We've yet to deviate away from this 1k gold lead that Chiefs have managed to build up. 3k there for Kisei. Then he falls on down. It's a bounty to pick up as well. It's going to be 800 gold to whoever gets that shutdown. Well on their way to major components to get in that next big power spike. But it is still Chiefs being aggressive. It's the Hex Flash angle here from Bates, who's sniffing out trouble. Tibbers has been used so far. Annie on the flank. Top wave being pushed in here by Kisei. Everybody coming together, but Chiefs on the money. Chiefs are crashing waves, whilst Order are retaliating.
Yeah, and they're 2 big ultimates down, right? Like, that's the Alistar ultimate down. The Annie Tibbers has just been used onto Draku for no real reward. And
oh, does the impale? That's what you want to see, Juice. He's still got his flash. It's just too easy. They've removed the jungler. 20 minutes on the clock. Maybe looking for more. Oh, the explosive cast. Draku, what was that? The one-mo combo from Chiefs. That is the best skirmish yet.
And I mean, this is just the team fight composition from the Chiefs, right? Ornn can start the fight from a screen away. Like we said, forces the Jinx flash, followed up by the culling, and all of a sudden this is Baron because they don't have a jungler to steal this one out, and there's going to be no Tibbers coming over the wall to even contest. The Jinx rocket, though, has a very big execute.
It does. They have to block this. It only hits when it explodes on a champion right now. Out comes the ultimate. They've done it again! Why? Why? Every single time. The Jinx ult, if it hits you, it splashes on. And Order, despite losing the fight, they've taken the grand prize of Baron.
Oh, no. That is just a... I mean, it depends what sort of fan you are. It's either a disaster or a Hail Mary. I mean, they had nothing besides that Jinx rocket. You do have to say, maybe someone should have gone over the wall and just tanked that one for the team, right? I mean, we've seen so many videos now, so many montages of the Jinx rocket stealing. It is a nice setup from the Chiefs. And I mean, look, as soon as the Ornn Horn comes through, Jinx has to flash. Can't play the team fight otherwise. Draku cast very, very nice. And then it's just at the critical moment, at the smite fight. Who can go over there? It's got to be the Ornn or the Gragas. Gragas just body slam over, take one for the team. Like, just fall down. They have vision over the wall. Someone has to deny this.
It hurts me to see, man. Every single time. You said it. Just sacrifice your life for the greater good. Jump over that wall and guarantee that, hey, at least that team fight win meant something.
I didn't take stock of the smite. Like, do we know the range? Like, what did it hit at?
Okay, something absurd. I'm pretty sure Jinx ult hits for 3k damage. Let's make some of these team fights right now. Out goes the ultimate, the encore, it's charmed, it's maximized, locked in place. He's already used the ultimate, everybody coming together. Kisei removes Puma. Chiefs finding the fights, finding the kills, and finding the moments to execute upon so flawlessly. Forget about the Baron buff, it means nothing when you're dead. Remove from the equation and take it straight back to Dragon.
Yeah, and here we are just seeing the full brunt of the Chiefs composition, right? Just a 5-man squad moving together, Seraphine just perma-buffing, and there's no access to Kisei. Absolutely none. It's you need to be on the guest list, you need to pay the entry fee, and then maybe you get to talk to Kisei. Maybe. But at this rate, I mean, yeah, no one has access, and it's just free hitting. You know, to be fair, Puma is in a little bit of a no man's land situation, does get engaged on, is spending most of the fight trying to get out of the Impale. But again, it's just really clean team fights coming out of the Chiefs.
And it's just so beautiful to see when a composition can be so, I don't want to say one-dimensional, but such a big emphasis on one particular person like this Lucian to pop off, that they do just that. 6-1 and 2 right now, huge gold lead, soon to be 100 in the mid lane, let alone anywhere else in comparison. And a 1k shutdown bounty is on his head. Yeah,
and I mean, but it's also nice for Kisei. I would say, you know, like, I love the kid, but he's definitely had some very big ups and some very big downs this split, right? And in terms of a team that requires confidence in a series, you know, Chiefs for me would be one of the biggest, right? Because Kisei is such a hot performer, when he's able to pop off, when he's able to get himself in the game, he's really, really, really good. And I think this is going to do him wonders leading into the rest of this BO5. Because Order, from what we know about them, you know, let's say this game does go worst case scenario and they do lose this one, right? They're just going to bounce back. They've shown us to be time and time again be resilient. They've brought games back from the brink many a times, which is why I don't count them out of this one yet. But in terms of a team, in terms of a mentality, they're always within, you know, reaching distance of bringing the game back. So got my eyes on Puma still. Want to see what this Annie can do. Not being impressed by it though yet, Skimmy. 100 CS down.
Yeah, and it's yet to really find that major impact that you were hunting for, right? You know, those major 3 to 4 man, multi-man stuns more than anything with the tip is to guarantee that Maximize can jump in and combo that and align it to guarantee their success. You know, we've just been seeing the montage reel being created in real time here by the Chiefs, showing that, you know, we both have CC, but we're the ones that are able to execute a little bit cleaner.
I think it's just the Seraphine gap. Like, you know, even then, like, Annie's not known as a tank killer. Like, I don't care what you build on Annie, it's not a tank killer. You can have Leandri's Demonic Embrace and you're still not going to get through tanks. But what it does is it one-shots backline, but with a composition where you have 3 frontliners, how do you get backline? Right? Like, it almost feels like the Chiefs draft is a little bit of an Exodia into Orders, because I know we were talking about Chiefs draft being short range at the start of the game, but the range itself doesn't matter if you play front to back, because there's always going to be that space between the Annie and the Seraphine and the Lucian, unless the Annie's quite literally flashing over the Ornn, which in that situation, do you even win it anyway?
And there's no stopwatch at the moment either, Juves. So it's not going to be too easy for them to make such Hail Mary plays. As you say, now starts to come that second degree of burn where, sure, we're down 3k gold. That's going to only creep up further as those ornaments creep on through to add insult to injury. The Chem Tank empowered, now they find the Kraken Slayer empowered too. And it's Kisei well on his way to 300 CS, well ahead of the 10 CS per minute that you just love to see. And a carry doing this is a carry that's going to pop off.
And I guess the other thing that feels moderately disrespectful is that 26 minutes into the game, we're seeing our first QSS into a Skarner. Like, I'm not expecting the Udyr to get it. I'm not even expecting, you know, Maximize to get it if he really wants to sit in that side lane. But Puma should have had it, but well and truly by now. Like, he's sitting on a pickaxe and a longsword. And Liv?
This could be in trouble. He's headbutt the terrain right now. Going to try and buffer himself for CC and vulnerability. R2 will not connect. This is going to be a lamb to the slaughter. 5 members surround him, and 5 members will take him down. And it could not have happened at a worse time here, Jubes, because Baron is up in 10 seconds.
And this is what I talk about Order, but you can never count them out. Whilst their composition looks like it's, you know, flailing a little bit, looks like it's maybe getting away from them just because of how well the Chiefs' composition scales. They just go and find a pick like that and start up the Baron.
Do the Chiefs even want to have any idea about contesting this one? You don't have the Jinx to replicate what that Baron steal meant before, but Swave still has the Impale. He's got the Flash and Bowman. Big ultimates can be landed. Baron getting lower and lower. Out comes the culling. Baron down to 4k. A 3-man body slam looking to try and lock them in place right now. The ultimate's already been connected. The Baron's still leashed. Puma evaporates. Kisei survives. Flashes across the wall. He's still got that cleanse. Hits it immediately. Forget about what Maximize can do on this now. It's a double kill for Swave. They take him out of the equation as well. Doubles across doubles. It's all things doubles, all things blue, and it's all things Chiefs.
Yeah, that fight is literally just Kisei Gap, right? I mean, we saw him on the back end there, pretty much flanking, right? Like, the Lucian in isolation finds Puma in the back of the Baron pit, is able to assassinate him, and to be honest, quite cleanly. Looked very nice coming out of Kisei there. And after Puma falls down, it's just a cleanup. It is just absolutely a cleanup. No damage coming on through. Baron picked up, pushing down the mid lane. Are the death timers long enough? Looks like maybe just inhibitor and back away.
What an upset here, Juves. What an upset. 15 seconds and multiple members will be respawning. Still be content with that. But the fact you go into this one 4v5.
Look at Kisei.
The confidence.
Look at Kisei here. I mean, Puma's probably in no man's land as well, but look at that. It's almost just a... Yeah, 2-tap. Literally. Kraken Slayer proc, press the attack proc, and Bob's your uncle.
Unreal
just
damage.
2-tap maximized there too on the back end.
Unreal confidence more than anything. I think that's probably what you were trying to get at before, right? The fact is that, you know, we have seen Kisei come into this one. You touted him up at the start of the LCO. You know, young rookie, plenty of potential. And he has shown us that, you know, I've got curveballs, I've got random champions, I can play the likes of Anivia in mid lane, I can do crazy things like Nocturne, and they can now warrant these respect bans. But give me the resources, build a composition around me, and I'll show you what we can do.
I do think we're being generous by saying I can play Anivia. If I remember correctly, that Anivia game was just an absolute shambles. And I'll tell him that myself. He can't play Anivia, okay? Look, maybe he can. Maybe it was just the BO1 sample size. Wasn't the best game. I think they did. Did they lose that one? They did, right?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah. But maybe it wasn't his fault. We'll have to VOD review that one. Skimmy, me and you.
Yeah, Anivia is definitely a champion of the past. Many seasons ago. Definitely not 200 years of experience like this Seraphine is providing right now. The Moonstone has been empowered because more healing. Why not? Fun times for them to play around. 30 minutes into this one, another dragon is there. And the Baron still has a minute left to try and open up a second inhib.
Yeah, and it does look like that's possible. And he has flash. I want to see him just flash Tibbers. There was no cleanse on Kisei there, but they threw a little bit gun shy. Like, that was a flash Tibbers angle, and he can't react to that. There's no QSS, there's a stopwatch, but he probably dies. So, maybe just a little bit gun shy.
Whether or not it's a trade they're willing to make, because really at the expense, it's a 4-1 split, Liv pushing mid, bringing in those Winions, making sure that they have to be responded to, and that slow, patient presence has opened up their first tower. Now the Call of the Forge God, can he hit R2? Locks in place 4 members, that just buys enough time to remove Beat from the equation. He's gone so squishy, even when the ultimate has been popped. That is the second inhib, and that is 2 members down for 30 seconds. And that is the chance to try and end this game, to start this series off with a bang. It's all things Chief, and it's them looking to try and go for that one final moment of brilliance. Looking to try and take things out. Tibbers is there, but Tibbers is gone. Flashing and stunning, bear stunt slapping. But it's all things Kisei, because he is legendary. And then Bowman gets himself on a score sheet as well. Smiles on the player cams, smiles for the series, as it's an ace to end game 1.
Yeah, Chiefs with confidence is a very dangerous team, and I think across the board they all had a very good game. And I mean, Chiefs, what a statement. What an absolute statement, particularly how, you know, how Order looked leading into playoffs. To have a game like that, 31 minutes in, 21-5. They're going to be happy with that one, Skimmy.
Certainly will be happy with that one. You had a weird moment at the very start of that game where you're thinking, well, you know, this is a composition that is so damn reliant on XYZ just coming together so beautifully. But when those pieces do come beautifully like such, it's a masterful performance like we just saw there.
Yeah, masterful is the word, and you know, maybe it's just illegal gaming to give away Seraphine at this point. I think we've seen too much Seraphine and be too successful in the LCO, so potentially back, and this is the beauty of a best of 5. You get to go back to the drawing board and chalk up what worked, what didn't work, and what can we change leading into the next game.
Certainly can make some changes. And Mac, what did you make of that one? You know, you see the Lucian popping off, having an absolute blast. You're thinking, I would love to be his jungler, to be in that mid-jungle 2v2.
Mate, I just thought that that Baron steal is completely dog shit. I've never seen it before, and it's not the first one that's happened today. Look, my Baron got stolen, that Baron got stolen, so many Barons getting stolen. I don't know, it's absolute thievery, robbery, terribleness. But look, crazy as it was, Chiefs potentially, if that didn't happen, could have ended it earlier with the Baron buff. But again, it was relatively close in terms of the team fights, but Chiefs doing a very good job macro-wise to just, you know, be in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, and it wasn't like a, you know, the end scores is just, it looks like an absolute wash, right?
Yeah.
But there was points that in the really early game, like very early on, it looked like Order just had complete control of the game. And a little bit of a reaction there from Beats. But Chiefs were just good enough to turn it around. They were able to stabilize volatile lanes, and even at this point, even when this happens, you start to think, okay, Order's just going to absolutely take over the game. And you start to think, well, it's going to be a tough task for the Chiefs now, but they managed to just find Puma on the back end. Very disrespectful in itemization, because he doesn't participate in this crucial fight here when they have Baron. All because he doesn't have a QSS. If he QSS's, he's out of there, able to rain down damage, put the Jinx Rocket down, and maybe we see a different team fight. However, itemization, key instances, key timings, key item purchases are what costs you in these games, you know, because the skill difference isn't a substantial one. Everyone's relatively close, and it's just these little things that create such a big deal.
And that play for me at the very end, right? It felt almost a little bit Vayne-esque. Kisei saying, look, Puma, you can play that, but I can do it just too. You know, taking all the 1v1s. You see Triku flexing so happy, shaking the camera all around. You know, he, of all people, right? There have been a few shaky moments coming to the split, but definitely found his form when it matters most. How many times did we see the initiation start with himself, backed up there by Lived, and the layering just coming together so beautifully, and enabling the fact that, you know, Maximize couldn't do really much in the game, that the Annie was pretty much nullified, and that Kisei was just so far gone by that point that even if they did have CC, they were getting 2 to 3 taps.
Is Udyr at this point, is he just a curse? Because I keep seeing teams getting him and then unable to win the game. So, you know, Drews, you want to give me a bit of enlightenment here?
I think Udyr potentially is in the realm of being picked for so long and picked all of the time that we just keep picking it, as opposed to maybe looking for better options. You know, there was the Skarner trade, could have opted in for maybe something else. I don't necessarily, and it also comes down to champion pool too, right? If you're being completely honest, Vengeance and Swathe probably have the 2 of the nicest jungle champion pools. So maybe when we saw the Skarner go over, could have opted in for one of his carry champions or vice versa. So I think it's just about figuring out the meta, what works for them, not necessarily playing what Global is playing. Because again, you know, if you watch the region, we don't really conform to meta a lot of the times. And for whatever reason that may be, but I think it does come down to identity, playstyle, and what works for them.
Yeah, and look, when we get to see players play what they're good at playing, they usually excel. So who knows? Maybe we'll see an actual bit of Vayne going into the next game. We did see a lot of Vayne
that was banned.
That worked out. Oh, it was banned, was it? Okay, cool.
Yeah. Otherwise, I reckon they would have taken it, snapped up.
There we go. Let's see if that trend continues or not as we do head towards game 2. We've got to go to a quick break, but Chiefs currently leading 1-0 over Order.
Some of these team fights right now. Out goes the ultimate, the encore, it's Chance, it's Maximize locked in place. He's already used the ultimate, everybody coming together. Kisei removes Puma. Chiefs finding the fights, finding the kills, and finding the moments to execute upon so flawlessly. Forget about the Baron buff, it means nothing when you're dead. Baron down to 4k, a 3-man body slam, not going to try and lock him in place right now. The ultimate's already been connected, the Baron's still leashed. Puma evaporates, Kisei survives, flash